Good day. I welcome all of you who has joined us. I am Olga Tamanova, Media Center Ukraine in Ukrinform. We are beginning our work. This is the 9th year of the war and 169th day since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggressor onto our land. I thank everyone who is telling truth about this war and telling about it for the whole world. Our team has prepared for you the following events. At 1 p.m. Kyiv time, we'll have Irina Vereshchuk, Vice Prime Minister for the reintegration of temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, and we will be speaking about the progress of the compulsory evacuation from Donetsk Oblast. At 2:30 p.m. we'll have a traditional briefing of the representatives of the forces of defense of Ukraine. We'll have Hanna Malar, Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Hromov, Deputy Head of the Main Operations Directorate of the General Staff, Alexei Natochi, the National Guard of Ukraine, and Leonid Baran, State Border Security Department. We will be speaking about the situation at the front line, the most relevant events which are now taking place there. And just now we are greeting Vadym Boychenko, Mayor of Mariupol. We will be speaking about the situation in the city. So I would like to begin with which is now maybe the most discussed and really what makes Ukrainians angry. This is the preparation for so-called sham trial, which has to take place in Mariupol. Vadym, could you please tell what you know about that? Thank you for the opportunity to provide you with truthful information about what is taking place now directly in Mariupol. You have seen all of those pictures and videos, which unfortunately are transforming the Pearl, our Philharmonic hall, where we had just cultural events and holidays. Now it has been transformed into a kind of a play, which has the name of the sham trial of our prisoners of war, which unfortunately are very numerous in the jails which the occupiers created around our heroic city of Mariupol. I'd like to mention that more than 10,000 of people are now in jailed, and there are lots of military among them, and the occupiers want, during our day, our holiday, the Independence Day, they would like to create this thing in Mariupol. Why do they do that? First of all, we see that Russian Federation does not have any victories at the front line, so they need to show something, so-called victory over prisoners of war. This is the war crime. Why? Because there was the deal of the Red Cross and the UN that the POWs who have left and put down their arms will go to Ukraine. So the prisoners of war shouldn't be at trial. But unfortunately, they are just getting rid of any of the deals which we achieved. Secondly, in my opinion, they would like to scare and intimidate our heroes who are now defending the state of Ukraine. That the deals and the agreements which we have now at the front line, the attempts to save the lives of the servicemen are just instantly nivelled, and they're just not there. They also would like victories for the internal consumer of the Russian Federation, to show as if they achieve anything, and for the internal consumer in Mariupol to show, here, close to you, this is the evil which we need to put to trial. So they would like to mention that the ruins and the destroyings, the murders and killings done by Russian Federation were as if done by those heroic guys and ladies who were protecting our city. They are lying, they're distorting the truth and replacing the notions which unfortunately can be found in the informational space of Russian Federation. The city was destroyed 50%, it was burnt, it was incinerated more than the fascists did during 2 years of the occupation, and they say that it was done by our armed forces of Ukraine. They see that the time is passing and they need to deepen the lies which they are disseminating. This is what's happening unfortunately in Mariupol city. Do we understand correctly that according to the plans of the occupiers, it has to take place on the 24th of August during the Independence Day of Ukraine? Yes, they are getting prepared to that. There are several dates planned, and of course they would like to make it this so-called holiday for them which can be named just with one word, the sham, which they would like to create in Mariupol city. Maybe it will take place in September. We don't know for sure, but they're getting ready to that. So according to different information from the open sources, there is such an information that our prisoners of war are involved in the procedure of exhumation of bodies in Mariupol. Do you have such information? Can you confirm it? I can definitely confirm that they involve the prisoners of war, not only the military, but also the citizens, the civilians, men from Mariupol. They involve them in these hard affairs. They promised them money and other things. Unfortunately, they don't do that. And about that, they have some of the internal discrepancies. They try to find out where the money vanished, because they used to be there, but they vanished. And there are some questions to the collaborators from the oppositional party fraction for life. So we can hear some of the shootings there, and something is happening there. They did not divide and distribute the money and the flows where they could earn this money. So the tortures are going on. They go on torturing Mariupol residents. They are torturing our military and servicemen. This is what we can see in Mariupol city. We could see that in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, the so-called authorities already announced that they are preparing some of the works for the referendum. They signed some of so-called documents. What is happening in Mariupol according to your info? Yes, I'd like to mention that unfortunately there are some people who are collaborating in Mariupol city as well. They disseminate this info about the preparation to the so-called referendum and other events, but we need to understand that Mariupol already had such an opportunity, so-called, had such practice. So-called. In 2014, I will remind you that the city was occupied for 2 months, and they also had a referendum, but then the city was liberated, and the collaborators did not do anything, and it will not help them now, because soon we are awaiting for the times when our heroic guys, the armed forces of Ukraine, will liberate the south of our state, and our city of Mariupol. That is why we are waiting and expecting for that. Soon it will take place. So that is why they are so scared, and that is why they are trying to prepare that so quickly, to legitimize the process which they name as if they are joining some part of our territory, of our state of Ukraine, to the so-called Russia. The head of Lugansk regional military administration said that there were cases in Lugansk Oblast that the occupiers are mobilizing the local population. Have you heard about such processes in Mariupol? Do you know about that? Unfortunately, this information can be confirmed as well. Yes, I need to confirm it, because unfortunately our guys yesterday got the texts, the SMS texts in Russian. We invite you for the service to the so-called occupational authorities, and we understand that they mean the service not in the occupational authorities, but in the armed forces of these so-called Donetsk People's Republic or Russian troops, as it used to take place in Donetsk and other cities. Why? Because they had a moratorium for half a year, so this half a year has passed already. Half a year passed. This is September soon, and in September they'd like to involve our men in Mariupol city in the armed forces of so-called Donetsk People's Republic or so-called Russia. And it will take place because yesterday this information was already in the texts for the cell phones of our guys who are now in Mariupol. Everybody is so scared there. They would like to leave. Well, we know where. They would like to leave for Ukraine, for the liberated territory. But we need to understand that, unfortunately now, still the filtration centers are working. So if we'd like to leave to Ukraine, you need to wait. But how long? 3 to 5 months. It's too long. So unfortunately, I'm saying unfortunately because they are leaving to Russia, and then in some hidden paths they try to get to Ukraine. It's very hard, but we need to understand that. Let's speak a bit about the humanitarian situation in the city. We understand what's happening there. The occupiers promised a lot, but in fact, There are problems with the drinking water, the problems with the lighting and the gas supply. Well, there is no gas supply, in fact. So what is happening there now? And there are some rumors that they even have internal dissatisfaction of those who wanted to work for the occupational authorities, but now they are in doubts. I would say that they never used to have, and they are not having, a high-quality drinking water. It's logical, because where Mariupol took water before the war, the source of water supply of Mariupol city is Seversky Donetsk River, and this grid is ruined. It cannot be restored. Those are billions of hryvnia, and we need ceasefire, and it will not take place there. It is impossible to restore. Where are they trying to take water from? The reservoir from the Crimea. This is the technical water of low quality, and the volume of this water is only for 9 months. So they're trying to create something additionally. We need to understand that 450 kilometers of this grid is damaged. The system of water waste is not working. All of the pumping stations are flooded. It needs to be restored. How much time we need for that, to restore it? A year and a half, 2 years maybe. They speak about that because they would like to feed the internal consumer in Russia as if something is taking place. Kind of comeback of life. There is no life there. People are leaving. They are complaining because they are out of water. They're trying to provide electric power supply, but they, again, instead of 220 volt, they give 380. They burn the property in the apartments, so they don't have experience. They are not experts and professionals. They don't have anything which can be named usual life, because we can also add the gas supply, which is not functioning there. So this year the heating season will not take place there. It will be really cold there. People understand that. And we can see the increase of the number of people who are leaving to Ukraine, for Ukraine. Is it possible to leave? As I already emphasized, it is restricted. You need to stand in the long queue of the so-called filtration center to wait for about 3 to 5 months. But people understand that. They are standing in long lines and queues. Older people can live without a queue. But still, we need to understand that the road from Mariupol to the governmentally controlled area, that is to Zaporizhia city, the closest city, is taking 3 to 5 days. It is not that rapid. They need to stand in the long queues. And unfortunately, our people are dying in those queues because they are exhausted. There's no medical treatment there, no medicines, no doctors, no equipment. People are leaving, and unfortunately, they don't reach the final destination. There are some cases. Last week, about 10 people died in the convoy which was awaiting for getting to the territory of Ukraine, that is to Zaporizhia city. As far as I understand, that is not only long, but also it's really expensive financially. I can hear that Mariupol residents say that it costs really substantial sums of money, and the occupiers take this money. Yes, it is true, I confirm, they take the money from the transporter. The transporter could do that for free, but we understand that they just steal from the Mariupol residents. They have to pay to get to Berdyansk, then from Berdyansk to Zaporizhia. Everything costs its price, and unfortunately it's a very high price which our Ukrainians have to pay for the opportunity to get to the governmentally controlled territory. Thank you. Dear colleagues, are there any questions? Please take the microphones. Hello, Pavlo Klanchuk, UNN. Mr. Boychenko, we know that in Mariupol, since the very beginning of occupation, there were so-called propaganda mobiles there. I'm sure that they did not impact Ukrainians, but still, what do you know about the opposition or guerrilla in Mariupol? We know that there are guerrilla in Kherson. What about Mariupol? Thank you for the question. I would like to say that we have some guerrilla there. You could see that there are some of the informational cases when we spoke about that, when the scoundrels were stealing from the apartments and houses, and those stolen things were brought to some place, and our guys and ladies just burnt all of that for it not to be sold by the scoundrels. We could see some other cases. We can see that there are some of the symbols of our statehood, the flag and the trident, in other cities which are emerging on the fences and walls. But unfortunately, the heroes can be taken by them. And in my own experience, I may say that one of the people who were helping us was taken with his wife on the 26th of July. And we are not in touch with him till today. They went to Donetsk, and we can understand what will happen with them later. So there are so many people who are opposed and don't want to collaborate with the occupational authorities. This number of people who are jailed there, this is the response against the aggression which take place in Mariupol. 10,000 of people are imprisoned now, who are prisoners of war. Whatever they say, only 6% left for Russia, so-called Russia. And we need to understand that they were mostly deported to Russia. They just pissed off by that. They wanted so much for Mariupol to go to Russia, but Mariupol did not leave for Russia. Are there any other questions? Thank you. Hello, Yulia Gadna, Ukrinform. I've got two questions. First, before you already called for an action, you urged the world to respond and not to allow this sham trial of our defenders. What do you think the world has to do today? What leverage can be there? And what should be the role of the international organizations of the Red Cross and the UN? This is the first question. And should I ask the second now or later? Okay, and the second question, whether you have information how many prisoners of war should be illegally under this trial, under this so-called sham trial. Well, first we need to assess what has happened in Volyivka. We understand that it was Yelenivka. We understand that it was the planned thing by the Russian occupational troops together with the collaborators. They just killed our prisoners of war. I can't name it in any other way. And the people who were promising and were signing some of the documents that it will take place in a certain way according to some procedures and gave guarantees, they need to assess. They need to have access, and then they need to witness and to emphasize what really took place there. And if they are not allowed to go there, let those organizations tell about that they don't have access, and they still need to define what happened there. We understand what happened there. And if they said that they are giving some guarantees, they need to be responsible for these guarantees. We have prepared some letters to these international organizations of the Red Cross and the UN, and we understand that the UN has now the change of the board. We'd like the new head of this organization to define what took place there, and when our prisoners of war will come back to Ukraine. Because we had a certain agreement, and everybody is waiting for that. Their wives are waiting for that. Their mothers are waiting for that, because they want their children and their parents to come back home. So if we speak about the list can be different. I will not list who will be in the lists. There will be both the military, the servicemen, and also the people who helped the military. There is certain understanding what will take place there. There are some of the city heads and mayors who did everything for us to achieve victory, and they're very numerous. Unfortunately, if you are helping the armed forces of Ukraine, in their understanding it's also a crime. So you are supporting this national movement. If you are protecting your own land, if you are helping the defenders to protect the land, you're also the traitor in their understanding. You are the nationalist, and soon it will take place, unfortunately, in Mariupol city as well. Unfortunately, we will see what they have done. if you decided not to collaborate, you are the nationalist. You need to be put on trial. And they already convicted a person to 10 years of jail, but they don't like that, of course. You know that. And if you don't know it, I'd like to emphasize that in Donetsk People's Republic, they execute people. And they would like these verdicts to take place for everybody to see and to be scared. When I personally went on the 16th of March from the occupied city of Berdyansk, there was an attempt to ask the driver who was with us, the Russian, who was standing on the checkpoint, why are you doing that? Why are you having these harsh events with Mariupol? Do you know his answer? It is intimidating. They say that we can destroy any city, and you need to be afraid of us. And this sham trial is done for us to be scared, just for you to understand. Thank you. Any other questions? Irina Holovko, TV7, Mariupol. Thank you. I'm asking about the humanitarian aid and relief. We were speaking about the water supply. What about food? We know that if the occupational power came there, they need to provide the food, the medicine. So what's happening with the food products for Mariupol residents who are still there? Do they provide substantial food and aid for them? 100% I can tell you that they didn't have food and they still don't have it. They need to find it. Both water and food is the main topic which people are discussing today. They are attempting to provide it. They are disseminating some food. They had the humanitarian event in April only, when they stole from our escorts and convoys, and the trucks which they stole. We saw those videos with flour. That's what they did. These were 9 trucks who were going to Mariupol on the 11th of March. They were stolen in Berdyansk. They came to Mariupol and under the flag of Russian Federation. So you can see what they're doing, right? And they were giving out those packages, just for you to understand what is 2,500 packages per month for the population of 100,000. The foundation I Mariupol is disseminating 42,000 of food product sets for 100,000 of population. You can see what's the difference. They are out of food, they don't have it, and what they are saying, go and work. Go to the water canal or any other communal enterprises, put away the rubble, take away the bodies of the people who the occupiers killed in Mariupol, bury the people, and then they will give you money. But they are not giving out money. And they've got lots of problems to understand what is happening there. Where is the humanitarian aid? Because Russia is saying that they provided humanitarian aid, and those occupiers are saying that there were no, in fact, humanitarian aid and relief there. So they have some of the internal conflicts, which soon will take place there. And those collaborators, I think, will be punished for that as well, for the work which they did or they did not do there. I thank you. I'm reminding you, we had Vadym Boychenko here, the city mayor of Mariupol. Thank you that you've joined us today, dear colleagues. Stay with us. I'm reminding you, our next briefing will take place at 1 p.m. Kyiv time. We are believing into our armed forces of Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes, glory to the defenders of Mariupol, and glory to Ukraine.